Hello, guys. Welcome to Clarity for Sure. And I welcome you all to yet another episode of Agriclarity Concept Clarity Lecture Series. So, guys, you know that IBPS has already released their AFO, the SO, and PO notification. So, with this, our exam season has officially started. So, starting from July up to December, January, right? So, this period of months, this is the prime time. If you work hard in this time, then you can grab a seat which can change your entire life, for which you have been working so hard for the past few months, right? So do not waste your time anymore. Buckle your seat belts because this is it. This is your time. Okay? For this 3-4 months, if you work hard, then you will be in the pinnacle of your career. So with this motivation, let's start with today's session. So today we are going to start with a very important topic, which is types of farming. Okay. So here we are going to see about what is farming system. Okay. First we will see about what is farming system, and then we'll see the different types of farming systems. Okay. Right. So let's start the session then. Okay, so first we'll see what is farming system. Okay, so when you talk about farming systems, so you can see from the definition that I've mentioned in here is a complex interconnected set of practices and resources used by farmers to produce agricultural products encompassing crop selection, livestock management, resource utilization influenced by the environment, economic, and social factors. So when we talk about farming system now, so farming system it incorporates all these components. Okay, there are field crops and horticultural crops. There is animal husbandry. There is aquaculture and fisheries. There is apiculture and sericulture. There is agroforestry, and what the interaction of these components. Okay, the interaction and what there is this environment, economic, and social factors. Right? The interaction and the influence. Interaction and the influence of what? And the influence of the environment, economy, and social factors. Right? So these all things constitute the farming system. So it is a what? It's a complex, interconnected set of practices and resources. So what are the resources? These are the resources. You see, field crops are there, then animal husbandry, aquaculture, fisheries, apiculture, agroforestry, right? So these are the resources which are there. The interaction when we integrate all these components into one place, the interaction among them and the influence of the environment, economic factors, and social factors, that gives you what? That gives you your farming system. Not to be confused with cropping system. Okay. Farming system should not be confused with the cropping system. So in cropping system, what we do is that it majorly has one component, that is your crop. Okay, in cropping system, it major has one component crop plus the resources which are available in the field or in the farm. Okay, and the interaction among them. Okay, so that is your cropping system, right? Like we have already seen na rice based cropping system, wheat based cropping system. These are the two major types of cropping system which is followed in India. So that is your cropping system. Okay, as the name suggests, cropping, that means it will mainly focus on what? It will mainly focus on crop. But when we say farming system na, farming system will have lots of components. Like these are the components which are there in the farming system. Okay, so that is what you will see. What is a farming system? So farming system is nothing but an complex interconnected set of practices and resources. So what are the components which may be there in a farming system? That is the field crops, okay, the horticultural crops, then animal husbandry, fisheries, we have apiculture, sericulture, agroforestry, all these things, and whatever resources are already there in the farm, the interaction among those resources, plus the influence of environment, economic, and social factors. Okay, so three things we have seen. that the components of farming system, right? These are the components of the farming system, and then the resource utilization which is there present in the farm, and the third is what? The influence, right? Three things you have to remember: the components of farming system, the interaction among the resources, and number three is the influence of environment, economy, and social factors. Okay, so I hope what is farming system is clear, and what is the distinction between farming system and cropping system is also very clear, right? So now let us see about the types of farming, okay, which is our main area or major area of concern. That is the types of farming. The first you see regarding conventional farming and subsistence farming. Okay, so in conventional farming, what happens? And this is the normal form of farming that we see. There is intensive use of inputs, okay, like the fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides. There is intensive tillage. Monoculture is mainly practiced, and this is the traditional or the industrial agriculture. Okay, the traditional or the industrial agriculture, that is the common form of farming that we see all around us. Okay, wherein unscrupulous use of, you can say, resources, right? Unscrupulous use of resources, tillage is done, extensive form of tillage is done. So that is also one thing. And what we go for? Monoculture. Instead of diversifying the crops, we go for monoculture. Okay, so this is your conventional farming. Now, what is the major aim behind this conventional farming? Okay, so conventional farming is to what? It is profit earning, right? That is why they go for unscrupulous use of inputs and tillage and monoculture. Why? So that they can have a lot of profit. They can have what? Higher income. By the use of inputs, more amount of inputs, they want to increase the output. Okay, they want to increase the output, or you can say the production of the crops. And as a result, what will happen? When the production will increase, then automatically the income will increase, isn't it? Income will increase, then what will happen? Profit will increase, right? So when we talk about conventional farming, na, it is mainly about what? It is about the profit part. Okay, this is basically for profit earning venture. Okay. On the other hand, we have subsistence farming. Okay, as the name suggests, it is to survive, it is to sustain, it is cultivated. Mane, this sort of farming is mainly done for what? It is mainly done to survive, right? Or to sustain, as the name itself suggests, isn't it? It is to survive or to sustain. So what are the characteristics of the subsistence form of farming? Okay, that it cultivates crop only to meet his consumption, that means the farmer's consumption, right? Only to meet the farmer and his family consumption, farmer or family consumption. Take care, the first point. Then what? Little or no marketable surplus. So whatever crops are produced, okay, it is he and the farmer and his family will consume all. Okay, there is no marketable surplus. So what do you understand by marketable surplus? Write in the comment section, what do you understand by marketable surplus? Okay, and what is the difference between marketable surplus and marketed surplus? Okay, there are two terms, marketable surplus and marketed surplus. So you have to mention first what is the meaning of marketable surplus, and then you'll have to define, differentiate between marketable surplus and marketed surplus. Okay, so this is your first homework, the answer of which I will be expecting in the comment section. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the characteristics of subsistence farming. First thing, that whatever he produces the crops for his own family consumption, and there is but no marketable surplus. Traditional methods of agriculture. Now you see, from this two point only, it is very clear that he has a lack of resources. Now since he has a lack of resources, so automatically he has to follow what? Traditional methods of agriculture, because mechanization is not an option for him, right? Then lack of mechanization, that's what I was talking about, and the use of family labor and farm stored planting materials. Okay, so these are the reasons why the yield is also less. Okay, these last points are the reason why the yield of subsistence farming is less. Number one, because The farmer uses farm stored planting materials, uses family labor, uses, there is a lack of mechanization, and also what? That they use the traditional methods of agriculture, right? So these are the reasons why the yield in case of subsistence farming is less, right? Okay, so these are the basic things you have seen about conventional farming and um subsistence farming. So, in case of conventional farming, it is mainly for the profit, whereas if you see subsistence farming is for the sustenance of the family of the farmer, right? Okay, so I hope it's clear now. Next, we'll talk about specialized farming and diversified farming. Okay, so when we talk about specialized farming, it is what that more than 50% of the income, okay, more than 50% of the income comes from a single enterprise. Suppose I am talking about, suppose rice, okay, you can say paddy. Okay, if I cultivate paddy, then more than 50% of my income comes from this paddy alone, then we'll consider that to be what? Specialized farming. Okay. Now your second homework is what? That give an example of specialized farming. A very typical example of specialized farming. Okay. So where 50%, more than 50%, or you can say the example, 90% of the income comes from a single enterprise. Okay, so that is your subsistence farming. So give an example of subsistence farming. Specialized farming. Sorry, not subsistence. So in specialized farming, as I was talking about, okay, more than 50% of the income will be from a single enterprise, right? Suppose I cultivate paddy, then more than 50% of my income comes from this paddy cultivation alone. So then we'll consider that to be specialized farming. And whereas when we talk about diversified farming, as the name suggests, diversified, that means there will be what? There will be crop diversification, right? In this kind of farming, we will have what? Crop diversification. So when a farm unit takes up several enterprises on the same farm, such that no enterprise contributes income higher than 50%, then it is considered to be what? Diversified farming. That means there are many enterprises. Okay, in the farm, there are many enterprises, and one single enterprise does not contribute more than 50%. Suppose there are three enterprises. This contributes 20%, this contributes 10%, and this contributes, suppose your 70%. This is one type of farm. Then another type of farm, again, there are three components. So this component contributes 30%. Then the second component contributes 20%. And the fourth contributes 50%. Okay. Now these are the two scenarios. Okay. These are the two scenarios. So now tell me whether these two scenarios are diversified farming or specialized farming. Whether the two scenarios are diversified farming or specialized farming. Okay. So as you can see here in the first scenario, okay, in the first scenario, so what do we do here? You see, the first component is 20%, then 10%, and then 70%. You see here, the third component gives 70%, isn't it? Now, since 70%, so automatically it will be what? Specialized farming, right? The second case you see in the first component 30%, second component 20%, but the third component gives what? 50%, isn't it? 50%. But when we take about or when we talk about diversified farming, what is given here that no enterprise contributes income as high as 50%. That means even scenario 2 is talking about what? Specialized farming. Okay, let's take another hypothetical situation. Okay, let's take another hypothetical situation. Just a second. Let's say There is another situation. Okay, there are again three components in the same farm. One component is your 30%. Okay, next, another component is also 30%. And the third component is what? It is your 40%. Then in that case, in this scenario, you see that none of the components contribute as high as 50%. That means this will be what? This will be your diversified farming, right? Whereas the first two scenarios that we had seen, those are specialized farming, right? Why you have seen? Because it should not, in case of diversified farming, na, it should not contribute more than what? It should not contribute more than um, 50%, right? So therefore, what you will see that in case of diversified farming should not contribute what more than 50%. So therefore, this is your diversified farming, right? Okay. So in the comment section, I want you to answer what number one, I told you marketable surplus. What do you understand by marketable surplus? And what is the difference between marketable surplus and marketed surplus? Second thing that you need to answer in the comment section is an example of specialized farming. Okay, an example of specialized farming, right? Okay. Now let's move to the next part, that is intensive farming and extensive farming. Okay, so intensive farming where we use higher levels of input and output per unit area of land. Okay, and intensive farming is practiced where the land is limited, where the density of population is proportionately high. Okay, so like in current scenario, isn't it? In our cities and villages, our population is density of population is quite high, and the land is also limited. So what do we do is that we put in higher levels of input, right? So that we can have higher levels of output from a particular unit of land. So what we're doing, we're practicing intensive farming. On the other hand, when we talk about extensive farming, that used to be practiced in very long time back, right? When the land used to be available, density of population was low, so the demand for crops were also low. So in that case, extensive farming were practiced. Okay, like in that case, what happened? Okay, level of output, I mean level of input that was used was much less as compared to the land that was being farmed. Okay, because they did not have to produce a large amount of output since the density of population was what, low, right? So that is what is your extensive farming versus intensive farming. Intensive farming, we currently do it now. Extensive farming, it's, you can say, more obsolete kind of farming now, right? Given that the density of population is very high and the land is also very limited, right? So this is intensive and extensive farming. Next, we'll talk about integrated farming system. Now, here you see, you need to pay attention to this integrated farming system. It's a very important topic. Okay, now integrated farming system, when we say, so this farming system IFS, okay, government is promoting IFS. Okay, government is promoting IFS. So your third question is, which scheme of government of India is promoting IFS? Okay, so this should be, you should answer this question in the comment section. This is the third question for your homework. Okay. Right. Let's talk about IFS now. IFS means what? Integration of two or more enterprises. Like what? Like your crop, dairy. Okay. Like your crop, dairy, piggery, fishery, poultry. So these integration, you can say, of two or more enterprises. Okay. For each farm according to the availability of resources so as to sustain and satisfy the necessities of the farmer. Okay, so here what we do, we mix up two or more enterprises, okay, like crop, dairy, piggery, fishery, etc., in one single farm, depending upon the availability of the resources to sustain and satisfy the necessities of the farmer. Right. So these are the different types of integrated farming system: wetland based farming system, garden land based farming system, dry land based farming system. Okay. So you can see the examples. If we talk about integrated farming system, it's a very broad topic. Okay, and there are a lot of things that you can learn from here, but we'll just restrict ourselves to what is required for the exam. Okay, so this is all that you will need for answering any question from IFS if it comes in the exam, because not many things will be asked. Okay, from the objective point of view, because in AFO we are concerned with the objective point of view. So therefore, this much is enough for IFS. Okay, so you just have to answer the question that I asked you: which scheme of Government of India promotes the integrated farming system? Okay, right. Now, next, let us move to the next part of this session. So here we are going to talk about three of the most important traditional systems of farming. Okay, right. So, up till now, we have seen about conventional farming, isn't it? Then we have seen about your subsistence farming, specialized farming, diversified farming, intensive farming, extensive farming, and IFS, right? So now we will see these three traditional systems of farming, and these are usually asked in the question in the exams. Okay, so you need to know what is the difference between the three, what are the features of the three. Okay, so first we'll start with the shifting cultivation. So in case of shifting cultivation, what you'll see that forests or natural vegetations are cleared by slash and burn method. Then these are cropped with common arable lands for a few years, and after the natural fertility of the land diminishes, then the lands are left fallow. Okay, then another patch of forest land or natural vegetation is cleared and cultivated, and the practice is repeated. This sort of practice is done in the northeastern parts of India. Okay, so in case of shifting cultivation, that means what will happen in a forest land? Okay, a patch of the forest land will be first burnt. Okay, it will be cleared off by slash and burn. Then in that patch of land, common cultivable crops will be planted. Okay, and this planting will be done for a few years. Now once the natural fertility of that particular land diminishes, then this patch of land will be kept fallow, and the cultivators will move to another patch of land. There again they are going to burn that particular patch of land, and they are going to cultivate. Okay, so usually the fallow, it is of 10 to 20 years. The fallow period is of 10 to 20 years. Okay, so this is a very destructive kind of farming system. Okay, why now? Another point is that why do they keep fallow for this 10 to 20 years? So that the natural fertility that was diminished, now it gets restored. Okay, so that the natural fertility that was diminished while they were cultivating for continuously for a few years, so that gets restored. For that reason, this 10 to 20 years of fallow period is maintained. Okay, and they may again come back to the previous fallowed lands once the natural fertility is restored. Then they may again come back. So that is after 10 to 20 years, they may again come back to the first patch of land. Okay, but this is a very destructive kind of mm cultivation. Okay, now it is known as what? Shifting cultivation, or it is also known as jhum cultivation. Okay, and there is another term which is there for shifting cultivation, that is what? It is a Sweden cultivation. Sweden cultivation. Okay, so these are the three terms for shifting cultivation, jhum, and Sweden cultivation. Okay, so this is about a shifting cultivation. Next, we'll talk about the Tongya system. So Tongya system, it originated from Myanmar. Okay, Tongya system, it originated from Myanmar, and the Tongya meaning is what? It is hill. The meaning of the word Tongya is hill. So that means technically we can say Tongya cultivation means hill cultivation, right? So here what is done? Growing of annual arable crop along with the forest trees in the initial years of establishment of the forest. Okay, so here the main thing is what? Forest establishment. Okay, the main agenda is forest establishment, and in the initial years of this establishment of forest, what is done? These annual arable crops are planted along with the forestries. Okay, so land usually belongs to the forest department. Farmers are allowed to grow crops, and in return they protect the forest saplings. As I told you, the main aim, the main aim is what? It is the forest establishment. Okay, now in this forest establishment, what you will do in the initial years, we know the trees, they take time to grow, isn't it? So in the initial years, the land will be given on lease or something to the farmers. The farmers will grow the annual edible crops, okay, along with the trees. They will care for these trees. Okay, they will care for the trees. So it is a win-win situation for both, right? So this is your Tonga system. So Tonga system, is it as destructive as the shifting? No, right? Because it is a rather good, you can say, um, method of farming, right? Where both the forest department and the farmers are benefited, right? They're mutually benefited. So this is about your Tonga cultivation. Next, we'll talk about Zebo cultivation. So Zebo cultivation is thought to have originated from Nagaland. Okay, thought to have originated from Nagaland. Now, what is the meaning of Zebo? Zebo means impounding of water. Okay, impounding of water. So this is also very good method of farming. Why? Here you see that combination of forest, agriculture, livestock, and fishery with well-developed soil and water conservation measures. So this is very important, right? In Zebo method, we go for soil, water, conservation. Okay, so here what we will do, that rainwater is collected from the catchment of protected hills, and then this particular rainwater which is being stored, this is entirely used for cultivation. Okay, so cultivation is done using this rainwater only. So that is why you can say shifting method was a destructive method. Next comes Tonga, which is a win-win for both the forest department and the farmers. Next comes the Zebo method, where we go for soil and water conservation measures. So this is Zebo method. So you can say out of these three, Zebo method is, you can title it to be the best, isn't it? Because here we take care not just for our needs and all, hmm, but also what for the environment, because we are going forward soil water conservation and we are not using external input, rather we are using only the rainwater that is being collected, right, for farming. So this is about the three traditional systems of farming that we have seen. First is shifting cultivation, mainly practiced in northeastern region of India, isn't it? Shifting cultivation is also known as jhum cultivation or Sweden cultivation. And here what is done, that first a patch of forest is being cleared, okay, by slash and burn method, and then what will be done, that arable crops will be grown there for a few years till the natural fertility of the soil, until the natural fertility of the soil diminishes. Then the farmers or the cultivators will move to another patch of land and the system will be repeated. The fallow period usually is of 10 to 20 years. Nowadays, due to lack of land, this fallow period has been reduced to somewhat 5 years. Okay. So why the land is kept fallow in shifting cultivation? So that the natural fertility that was diminished in the process of cultivation gets restored. Okay. Next, what we'll see is Tonga cultivation. So in Tonga cultivation, land usually belongs to the forest department. So the forest department, it allows the farmers to grow crops, okay, annual crops in between the forest saplings. So farmers, they can cultivate these crops for their own sustenance, and along with it, they will also take care of the forest saplings. So Tonga system originated from Myanmar, and Tonga means hill. Zebo cultivation originated from Nagaland. Zebo means impounding of water. So here what is done, that forest, agriculture, livestock, fishery, these are combined along with what, along with soil and water conservation. Okay, so rainwater is being collected, okay, from the catchment of the hills, and then this particular stored water is used for cultivation. So the entire cultivation uses only the stored rain water. Okay, so this is about your Zebo cultivation. So the three, I hope the three traditional systems of farming is clear. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope the different systems of farming is very clear for you. The homework that I have given, the three questions, please try to solve them because it will be for your own good. Okay, I'll be waiting for your answers in the comment section. So we'll meet again next time. Till then, keep yourselves happy in the preparation journey, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.